Welcome to the Movers and Shakers podcast, where real students are doing real deals in the world of multifamily real estate. I'm Vince Gethings, the owner of the Wheelwell Profits Academy. Listen in as we dive into the journeys of driven individuals who are turning their dreams into reality. These people are just like you, taking action and making things happen. If you enjoy the show, please like, subscribe, and if you're ready to take action, check us out at wheelwellprofits.com to learn more about our incredible community. Let's get started.
For those that are out there, Dillon, that are struggling and saying, I want to get into multifamily, what next steps should they take to get into multifamily?
Really and truthfully, there's two different ways to go about getting your education. I believe education is absolutely key. Number one is, it's pay to play, and number two is seek to serve.
Hello, everybody. My name is Gino Barbaro, co-founder of Jake Gino, multifamily investor, father, educator, and I'm joined today on the Movers and Shakers podcast with Dillon McGough. Dillon is a senior business advisor with Jake Gino. He started his investing in the multifamily space about 4 years ago while he was working for a private company in the political realm. Ooh. Since then, Dillon has scaled his multifamily portfolio to just under 500 units. And for the past 3 years, has been on the operational side of the Jake Gino educational firm. Welcome to the show, Mr. McGough. How are we doing today?
I'm doing well, Gino. Always great to be sitting next to you having a conversation. How are you?
I'm doing great. And let's dive into, how did you meet Jake Gino? How did you hear about the company, and why did you join the educational company?
Yeah, so taking it back a few years, like you mentioned in my bio, I started in the business about 4 years ago, and at the time was working in the corporate sector, and really and truthfully had kind of at the time just been grinding it out the past couple of years before then, and it was just really struggling with the lack of flexibility and the lack of freedom that came along with that, and so just kind of exposing myself to a couple of different routes, and multifamily from a bunch of different perspectives just kind of piqued my interest, and it made sense from a demographic perspective, from a tax benefit perspective, from a cash flow perspective, and a long-term predictability and stability perspective as well. And so I kind of dove all into multifamily, and then from there I said, hey, this is a business that's done over and over again. Really and truthfully, there's nothing new in the business. And so I figured, we're not recreating the wheel here. Find somebody that's in the position that you want to be in and rip off and duplicate. Back in college, they consider that cheating if you look at the guy's or gal's paper next door. But in business, it's genius. And so I looked out for somebody that was a little bit further along in their journey and wanted to follow the path of that's already been followed before. Eliminate a lot of mistakes and allow me to get to my goals a little bit faster than doing it on my own.
And how old were you when you joined?
I believe at the time I was about 26 years old.
So what do you say to all the investors out there who are younger and say, that's one of the limiting beliefs? I don't have capital, but I'm too young.
Really, and that's exactly what that is, Gino. It's a limiting belief. I know we have plenty of students. I am not one in a million here. We have plenty of students in the Jake Gino community that started in this business when they were much younger. I think it comes down to really educating yourself, being able to talk, walk the walk, know what is it you're doing, and have confidence in execution. And I really don't believe that that age is an actual hurdle. It's just more in people's mind. And I think, age can be a hurdle, whether you're 25 years old or 45 years old, if you don't actually have the education and know how to actually execute.
What did you specifically dislike about the job? Because there are a lot of people out there that are disgruntled about their W-2 job or disgruntled about their situation, and they think they're the only ones out there. I can attest to everybody. I had the same problems as Dillon when I had my little, restaurant. I just didn't feel fulfilled. I didn't feel like I was building wealth. I didn't see a future. I didn't have control of my destiny. What was really blocking you from your corporate job?
How long you have? I'm just kidding, but at the end of the day, there was a couple of big things that were really important to me. In a W-2, you oftentimes don't have a ton of flexibility, and so working for somebody else, it was somebody else's decision as to whether or not I can go go on vacation. Once we don't have children yet, but one of the things that I remember about my dad owning a business, and he passed away a couple of years back. But one of the things I truly remember is, his flexibility, being able to come to every activity that we had. That's something I would not have the flexibility to do if I kept down that W-2 path I was going down. And while I was making a great salary from an income perspective, I knew at the end of the day that working for somebody else, I was going to be limited to the amount that I could scale my income. And so with something like multifamily, a much more kind of scalable asset class, more scalable vehicle, I was more confident in being able to create generational wealth, so to speak, in an asset class such as multifamily.
Walk me through the decision about contemplating the education. I mean, you did your due diligence. You looked at a lot of different other companies, and it was a really huge decision for you to make to invest in that education. Mm-hmm. What were the pain points before you joined? And then let's discuss, the aha moments after you joined.
Yeah. And like I said earlier, I think this is a business that I think it's simple, but it's not easy. There's nothing new here. There's a path that's been laid out before, but there's a lot of pieces that go into it. The most important thing is you can go and find a lot of this information, reading books and listening to podcasts, but it's how you actually package it together in more or less like a business plan. And so that organizational side of things was the thing that I struggled on. And so I could go out and read a book and understand how to underwrite or how to have a conversation with the broker. But I know every single deal is different. Every single conversation is different. And so with that, I'm sure you've heard it, paralysis by analysis. It was an overload of information without a certain understanding of which steps to do first, which steps to do consecutively after that. And so I figured, okay, well, if this is keeping you from actually moving forward in the business, find somebody that's been there before, that's done that, can cross your T's, dot your I's, and allow you to have more confidence in execution. I felt more comfortable diving into the deep end, knowing I was having a high level coach with me every step of the way that's already seen everything that I'm going to be going through.
So what has been the big catalyst to the success you've been able to create thus far? I mean, before you answer that, I think one of the things that people really underestimate, we just had a podcast recording with Julius Thomas. He played with Peyton Manning. And one of them really ultimately and truly is the accountability piece. You can do this all by yourself. But are you going to call the brokers every day? Are you going to do the underwriting? Are you going to get the work done? Are you going to do the property tours? If you're by yourself, probably not. And I can attest to that. My success came from being held accountable by my partner, Jake. And I have this unusual discipline where you can put 6 cupcakes in front of me and Dillon knows I ain't touching those bad boys because they're not good for me. Not many people have that discipline and that accountability piece. I have a large family and I have an amazing spouse. So my discipline is ingrained in that. So I can't let them down. But most people don't have that ability to say, oh, I'm going to get all the work done by myself. But if they have somebody looking over their shoulder, that's really important. What catalyst really helped you out early on?
Yeah, I think the accountability piece is extremely important, Gino, and kind of playing off of that same concept from multifamily is a team sport. It really and truthfully, just as in any other business, as a human, I know I have certain strengths, I have certain weaknesses. This is not something, even if I had the ability to do every single deal on my own from a financial perspective, I would not want to. And so joining a community of like-minded individuals, people that may have been a little bit further along in their journey than me, where I can leverage these people to create partnerships, fill gaps that I'm not able to fill myself. And it's the exact opposite for them as well. I mean, for me, being able to fill a gap for my partners that they don't fill. And that allows, for a more scalable business from an efficiency perspective. And everybody is focused on their highest and best use of time. And so it was, all right, seeking out a group of really high level individuals. And I truly believe you are the average of the 5 people you surround yourself most with. And that was something. You can go to real estate meetups and some of these webinars and things of that nature and connect with other folks. But when you join a high level community, when there is a little bit more of a barrier to entry, so to speak, you're going to be connecting with people that are much more serious in the space. I know personally, some of the people that I've partnered with in this community have already owned and operated hundreds of units. They're already full-time investors as we did our first deal, and they're just looking to to join a community to take their business to the next level.
I want to share a story with Dillon. He may remember this. He may not remember this. And it's 2019. It's MM3. And he just joined the community. And one of the things of when investing in your education, you got to take the action. It's education times action equals results. And I remember him sitting up front in the VIP. He invested in a VIP ticket. And I remember him sitting there and we announced on stage and Jake does his terrible intro with all the Metallica crap going on. And we're supposed to be pumped up. And I remember him sitting in the front row and I remember giving him a high five and just, I remember that moment like it was yesterday, him sitting there. And then fast forward over 3 years. And now he's been an integral part of the community, of the team. And I think him sitting there, that energy, the ability to network with other people, the ability to network with individuals in the community. And like Dillon just said, he started partnering with other individuals in the community and finding where his true value was. Do you remember that moment?
I really truthfully do. That was, I remember that. I mean, there was a couple of really, really big decisions that happened in my personal life coming from that specific event.
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about catalysts, I can absolutely say there's a couple of really, really big catalysts. That weekend was absolutely one of them.
And we have our Multifamily Mastery Live event every year. I mean, that MM3 had 500 people. MM4 in 2021, because we skipped 2020 because of COVID, had 900 people. We're expecting over 1,000 for MM5. And that's what we're talking about, the snowball. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. And you get better at this business and get better at this business. Let's talk about your first deal. What did that look like in the community? And what were the challenges? And how did the community help you overcome those challenges?
Yeah. So the first deal we ended up taking down was we took down a 36-unit apartment building, and with that packaged, well, in a package, we also purchased 26 condos. And so I've got 2 partners in that deal. Both of my partners are other investors within the Jake and Gino community. Mm-hmm. And so with that, I had a partner that ended up getting a deal from a relationship that he built. Mm-hmm. Just more of a motivated seller. This was out in West Virginia. And with that, it wasn't a market we were super excited about investing very heavily in, but at the right price, I mean, any deal can make sense. And so we went in, we took a look at the deal. We felt pretty confident at a certain price. And we just, at the end of the day, like I said, didn't want to invest a ton of our own capital in that market. And so we looked to figure out, hey, what's a problem we can solve for the seller to be able to get into this deal with very little capital out of our own pocket. And so, I mean, the bank that had that loan with that current owner, they knew the deal inside and out. We ended up coming to a pretty solid cost basis, and when it came to price, and so we ended up getting the deal under contract. We went back to the bank. They just because they knew the deal we got, they only forced us to put down 5%. Mm-hmm. We went and had a conversation with the seller about some owner financing for the fact that he was going to have a pretty big capital gain coming, and so he can kind of separate that a little bit. And he was willing to give us some pretty solid owner financing terms. And with that, I mean, that was a deal we purchased the apartments, the condos for $3.3 million, a little over about 125 a door. And with the 36-unit apartment building, we purchased that for $2.2 million. Now, the great thing with this, on that cost basis, it immediately appraised for just over $7 million. And so that deal today, we ended up refinancing as opposed to splitting into two, as opposed to the 2 separate loan, or the one loan we had for both properties from day one. About a year and a half, 2 years later, we ended up refinancing that into 2 separate loans. And what we've been doing is selling off those individual condos retail to people that are actually living there. So we were in at 125 a door. We've sold about 10 of them thus far at in between 180 to 190 a door. And then with the apartments, we're cash flowing very well. And so we'll probably hold on to that for the next couple of years. We're in at 2.2. We're paying down the debt. We're cash flowing well. The property's worth about $4 million today. And a big thing when it comes to leveraging the community to do that deal is, like I said, partners and having a coach with me every step of the way. That deal had so many hurdles. There were so many different points that we thought that deal was going to fall apart. We're going to go back and have a conversation with my coach and say, hey, this is an alternative way to go about it. This is what questions you should ask. this is how you're going to go about solving this problem. And I was able to do that with confidence and work through a lot of those issues, because that's what real estate is, really and truthfully, is solving problems.
So Dillon forgot to mention the cost segregation benefit on that property.
Can't
So
forget
that cost seg probably paid for his education 20 times over just from that, just from that piece right there. And there's a couple of things that I think he learned from the community. He probably never knew what seller financing was. He never really knew how to partner, because I think Dillon is I'm a guy, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that, but can't do this deal all by myself. So I need partners. So finding the partners in the community as well is also a lever. So for everybody out there taking notes, look up seller financing. Look up cost segregation. And once you learn those, learn how to apply them in your deals and see the value that you can create from that. Now, Dillon, we get a lot of questions from people saying, man, this is not the right time of the market to buy assets. When you bought that asset, everyone thought the market was at a high. And yet they're wrong about it, because a couple of years into the cycle, we keep going. What do you say to people who say this is not the right time to invest in multifamily?
There's never a right time to invest in multifamily. I think at the end of the day, if you're getting into good property with a good business plan, good financing, and a good market, you want to put yourself in a position to outlast any storm. So you're going to buy at the top of the market, you're going to buy on the way down and on the way back up. Just as in anything else, I don't believe there's any timing the market. It's just extremely important as to your operations. That's the first thing I would say. And that was a limiting belief that I had on the front end as well, is going about trying to time the market. And if you really have an understanding of the multifamily business as a whole, the people that are doing this at an extremely high level. I know real estate private equity firms, family offices, these institutional groups like real estate investment trusts. If people at that level aren't trying to time the market, so to speak, why would I try to do it myself? So good financing, good business plan, good property in a great market. If you have those things in place, I think you're going to do very well over the long term, regardless of where you're at in the market cycle.
What Dillon is talking about, I'm getting excited. He's talking about buy right, manage right, and finance right. And I'm going to give everyone else a tip out there. At Jake and Gino, we also discussed the 3 pillars of real estate. And really, let me chunk that down a little bit more for all the listeners. What Dillon's talking about is not to time the market. You can buy real estate when the market's going up, and you can buy real estate when the market's going down and make money. But you have to understand what the 3 pillars of real estate are. You have to understand how to execute on the 3 pillars of real estate. The 3 pillars are market cycle, their debt, and their exit strategy. So on Dillon's first deal, he timed the market cycle rather well. They didn't know. They bought an asset that had there was a deep value add to that, but it was a right part of the market cycle they bought. They got the right debt. They got seller financing on this thing. And if you're looking at your exit strategy, now they know what they're doing. They're exiting these condos at a premium, making money there, paying down some of the debt. And they like that apartment complex. So when everyone's out there analyzing a deal, don't worry what the market is doing. Right now, everyone's calling for a recession. Now you can't buy. Those same people that said you can't buy today, 3 years ago, were saying that we're at the top of the market. We can't buy then. You just need to understand how to buy in the market cycle. When the stock market is going up and when it's going down, savvy investors know how to make money on the way up and on the way down. And it's the same thing with real estate. Maybe in this part of the cycle, you may have to get long-term fixed rate financing because all of a sudden, real estate prices drop. The only time that you care about the value of real estate is when you buy it and when you sell it. Doesn't matter the value in between those 2 price points. So you're not trying to time the market. Maybe when you refi, you want the value as well. But understanding those 3 pillars in conjunction with buying the asset properly, managing the asset properly, and financing it properly are really going to lead to, I think, an amazing investment. Now, for those that are out there, Dillon, that are struggling and saying, I want to get into multifamily, what next steps should they take to get into multifamily?
Really and truthfully, there's 2 different ways to go about getting your education. I believe education is absolutely key. Number 1 is, it's pay to play, and number 2 is seek to serve. Now, the seek to serve is finding somebody that has the experience, so to speak, to build this business at a very, very high level, but you find some sort of hole in their business that you can fill. Now, the difficulty with that is most of the time, if you find somebody at that level, I mean, if they have systems and processes, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to fill that role. And so I think that's few and far between. I think that's definitely the tougher path, so to speak. The other way to go about it is pay to play. I mean, find a high level coach that you're investing in financially and with your time as well. That's going to guide you through every aspect of the process. I think that is the absolute easiest way to go about this. And just understand that this is a path that's already been laid out. There's nothing new here. Find somebody that's been there before, that's done that. They can guide you through every step of the process and keep you from making the mistakes that inevitably come about when trying to build this on your own, just testing and measuring, so to speak.
Our coach, Bill Ham, says there's two ways to do it. You can either do it on the street or you can do it in the classroom. And take it from me, I've done both. And the street really hurts. And then when I ultimately in 2008 decided, what am I doing? Why am I investing in assets? I don't know 3 pillars. I don't know the buy right manager. I didn't have any that education. I went out and I sought a mentor, and I actually got 3 different coaching programs from 2008 to 2013 when we closed our first deal, Jake and myself, because I was preparing myself. There's so much that I didn't know, that I didn't understand. And on that very first deal, I was able to leverage the mentor with a pitch book, as he called it, with an underwriting template that I didn't have, with a due diligence document to walk me through that very first deal. And then on our third deal was where the mentor really shone for me, because all of a sudden I'm taking over an asset that's got a lot of deferred maintenance, that has, these due diligence checklists. I didn't have this stuff. I didn't know what to do. So I would get on the phone with my mentor, and it was funny. I'd go back and report to Jake. I was like, Jake, this is a document that we need. And he's like, dude, where'd you get it? I'm like, at first I played it off and I said, I'm a smart dude. What do you expect? But then by the end of the process, I told Jake, I'm working with my coach, and he was blown away because he's like, I didn't know a lot of this stuff. And, Mark Twain says it best. It's not what you don't know that's going to hurt you. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so. So if you're out there and you're young and you're saying to yourself, well, young, it's holding me back, or lack of money is holding me back. The lack of money is not holding you back. As you can see, Dillon's first deal was seller financed. My first deal with Jake was a seller finance deal. There's syndication out there raising capital for deals. There's the ability to partner with other people and JV with other people. If you're boots on the ground and you have a property management company, you can jump in that way, deciding how to provide value. If you want to raise capital for somebody else's deal, there's so many different ways to get into multifamily. But if you don't know that, if you don't explore those options with Dillon and with the Jake and Gino team, you're going to be there stuck in those limiting beliefs, and you're going to let years go by. And then ultimately you're going to say, hey, it was too late for me to do it. Dillon, how can the listeners get a hold of you? Before I answer that question, I just want to ask you, working with the Jake and Gino community, what do you really like about working with the community? What have you seen the transformation in the community over the last 3 years? Because you've really seen the growth of just so many high-level people in the community and the culture that we've built here.
And it's exactly that. I think it's the overall culture of the group, the values of the group. I think this is a testament to both you and Jake, have attracted, and I think like attracts like, and you guys have been very, very transparent about everything in your business and your personal life. And I think that's attracted a lot of high level individuals. So we've kept the collective and grown the collective average of the group as a whole. And when you have a high level group like that, eventually you start to have that exponential growth. It's 1 + 1 = 2, 2 + 2 = 4, then 4 + 4 = 10. And I think we've really started to hit a lot of that exponential hockey stick growth, but that comes down to who you bring into the community. So focusing on a lot of quality as opposed to quantity. And so I think you made a couple of really great points there. Something that was really important to me on the front end was not only working with high level educators that are doing this themselves be in the place that I want to be, but somebody I know is still willing to invest in themselves. And that's something I immediately saw about you and Jake, in the fact that you guys were, being totally transparent. These guys have invested multiple 6 figures in their own education. They understand no matter how high of a level you do this is a business you're going to be learning at. And the day you stop learning is the day your business ends up getting hurt because of that. So that was number one. And then, so I believe at the end of the day, it's finding a high level group where you can focus on surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals, understanding that this is a team sport and it's always going to allow you to go further faster.
I want to recap Dillon's story real quick for everybody because it's important to hear his journey from where he started to where he is right now. And when I met him, he was out there playing golf. You should see him hit a golf ball. Freaking awesome, bro. He crushes the golf ball. And he's out there going to dinners at nighttime. And what I saw is he wasn't living his life in accordance to his values. He knew that living this lifestyle that he had, he'd be on the road a lot. He would be doing things that he didn't feel in alignment with his values. He'd be out partying a lot. He wouldn't be home with the family. So he knew long-term that wasn't the right fit for him. And for those of you out there, it can be challenging. So he checked his values and he went out and he sought a vehicle that would align with those values to be able to build wealth, to be able to also build a business through that wealth. How many investments out there can you actually invest in as a vehicle and create a business through it? At Jake and Gino, we create multifamily entrepreneurs. That's what it's all about. It's investing in real estate, but it's also building a scalable business where you can say, hey, I can hire people and help people have people help me with this portfolio. So he's out there. He starts with the Jake and Gino community. In 2019, he's at the VIP event. And from there, he immerses himself in the Jake and Gino education. He goes to a couple more events. He meets his partners, starts investing in deals. And then we bring him on to the Jake and Gino team because he understands multifamily at such a high level and he's an investor and he can add value that way. And fast forward to today, my 8-year-old daughter is making him cupcakes. So for anybody out there who knows Dillon and sees Dillon, just tell him about the cupcakes with a little extra frosting on there. I'm just saying. And let me tell you something. He likes the amaretto custard cake too. So just, yeah, it's something about Dillon. He loves to eat desserts. So if you see him out there, give him a little cookie or something. But it's been an amazing, I think, transformation from being stuck in a job that you really don't like to actually having the awareness to say, I need help, to being humble enough to say, I don't know what I don't know. And I don't want to make these huge mistakes because my fiance is really counting on me not make these mistakes and not to lose a ton of money. And I want to create a future. And I want to build a business all at the same time. And just to be able to have, like I said, the humility to say, I need this help. I need to join an education, a community. And then I love the multifamily so much that I want to immerse myself in a community and grow that community and be around it every day and talk about real estate every day and talk to high level people. And then now going to 5 and 6 events a year with the students and learning about the students and getting those emails and having over 50,000 units that the students have closed. And to be part of that has been amazing. How can the listeners get a hold of you?
Yeah, I just want to add on to that one piece, Gino, and this is just to kind of give clarity on my background. And when Gino talks about, hey, going out and partying and having to have all these late nights, I was a lobbyist. So I was in the political realm representing the political interests of certain groups. And what comes along with that is a lot of entertainment. And so this is something so a lot of dinners, going out and having drinks and things of that nature. And a lot of what came along with that is, I mean, what Gino talks about, a misalignment in values. And then what comes along with that is if those things are misaligned, whatever it is that you're going to do, you're going to have a lack of passion for it. You're not going to want to focus on becoming, a mile deep and an inch wide, focusing on that, becoming the absolute best at it. So you have to get involved with something that aligns with your belief system and your overall values. And that's what I found with multifamily. For those that want to get a hold of me, pretty easy. My email is dmcgough@jakeandgino.com. So dmcgough@jakeandgino.com. That's going to be the easiest way to get in touch with me.
Dillon, thank you. I always say at the end of the shows, I want to thank you for being an amazing guest and just reach out to Dillon. If you're having struggles with your values, we call it values-based decision-making, just to have the conversation about that as well and to really check the values. That's the homework for everybody after this recording. Sit down and really explore what your values are. And if you're not living according to them, you're going to find out real quick that it doesn't sit right. It doesn't feel right with you. And once you can start doing that and you're saying, I want to take control of my life. I want a vehicle that can add prosperity and add generational wealth and add legacy to my life. This is an amazing vehicle. And just get in touch with us. dmcgough@jakeandgino.com. Thanks a lot, brother.
Thanks for having me, Gino. It's a pleasure as always.
Take care, everybody.
you are looking to get involved in multifamily, this is where you need to be.
The team you've built is incredible.
There is no egos here. Everyone is always looking to help the other person.